There are luxury brands so elite they never advertise, do not appear on social media, and sometimes do not even have public prices, because in their world, fame would make them less valuable. Some store client patterns by hand for generations. Others spend 40 hours finishing a single watch movement, and a few accept new clients only by referral letter. This is not about expensive logos or trending status. It is a closed universe where true privilege lies in being invisible. How do billionaires and royalty actually spend on luxury you will never see? The answer starts with the names. Almost no one outside the top 0.1% even knows exist. On Savile Row, the ritual begins not with a price tag, but with a quiet conversation and a measuring tape. At Anderson & Shepherd, a master cutter takes dozens of measurements, noting not just the client's dimensions, but the way they stand, the slope of a shoulder, the way a wrist turns. Each detail is recorded by hand in a ledger, a tradition that began in 1906 and continues today. These ledgers are more than records. They are family archives, holding patterns for fathers, sons, and sometimes grandsons, each one updated as bodies and tastes change over decades. The first fitting is called a baste, a loose assembly of cloth and thread. The coat is barely holding together, stitched just enough for the cutter to see how the fabric falls. After each fitting, the garment is ripped down, the pattern adjusted, and the process begins again. 3 fittings are typical, sometimes more. The house's signature soft shoulder, a style introduced by Anderson & Shepherd in the early 20th century, is shaped by layers of hand-pad-stitched canvas and horsehair. This technique, invisible from the outside, gives the coat its gentle drape and comfort, a kind of luxury that only the wearer feels. A bespoke suit here takes anywhere from 3 to 12 months, depending on the complexity of the fabric and the client's schedule. The time is not just for construction, but for the relationship to grow. Clients are expected to return for each fitting, to discuss changes, to become part of the process. The cutter and the house steward know the family histories as well as the measurements, and the ledgers become a quiet form of capital. For some clients, a pattern from the 1920s is unrolled to commission a new coat for a grandson. The paper yellowed, but the lines still sharp, a living record of style and inheritance. Discretion is absolute. Names are rarely spoken outside the shop, and the ledgers are kept in locked cabinets. If a client's privacy is ever at risk, the expectation is clear. The house protects the relationship above all else. In recent years, as social media crept closer to the row, houses like Henry Poole quietly reinforced their unwritten rule: no photos, no publicity without permission. If a post appears and the client objects, it disappears without discussion. The value of the suit lies not in the label, but in the trust built over generations. The final stitches are done by hand, each lapel pad-stitched for hours to create a roll that cannot be replicated by machine. When the coat is finished, the pattern returns to the ledger, ready to be called upon years later. In this world, documentation is not about status, but about continuity. The ledger, the pattern, and the relationship between cutter and client, these are the real assets of Savile Row. Here, luxury is measured not by what is seen, but by what is remembered. On a shelf in a quiet London workshop, rows of wooden foot shapes line up like a private census. Each is a bespoke last, carved by hand for a single client, sometimes decades ago, sometimes for someone no longer living. The last holds the memory of a foot, the arch, the width, and the way each toe bends. For the most discreet shoemakers, these lasts are kept indefinitely, labeled with numbers or initials, and sometimes passed down through families. It is not unusual for a great-grandson to walk in and request a pair of boots shaped on his ancestor's last, the wood carefully adjusted for a new generation. The initial process can take 6 months or more. Measurements are taken with the client seated and standing. Then a block of beech is shaped, rasped, and sanded until it matches the contours. A fitting shoe is made, tested, and revised. Only then does the real pair begin. The wait for a first commission stretches from half a year to a full 12 months, depending on the complexity and the shoemaker's queue. Once delivered, the shoes are meant to last a lifetime. Owners return not just for polish, but for resoling, stretching, or repairs, sometimes decades after the original order. In this world, aftercare is as much a part of the relationship as the initial fit. The client's last remains in the archive, ready for future commissions or for a family member who shares the same stride. Across the channel, another kind of archive sits behind closed doors. At Charvet, the Parisian shirt maker founded in 1838, the walls are lined with drawers and shelves holding tens of thousands of fabric swatches. Each bolt of cotton or linen is cataloged by weave, color, and provenance. Clients are invited to choose from this library, selecting not just a color, but the exact feel and weight of the cloth. Patterns for each client are drafted and stored in envelopes marked with initials and dates. Some envelopes have been opened and resealed for generations, their contents updated as bodies and tastes evolve. The process for a bespoke shirt is measured in weeks for returning clients, but a first commission can require multiple fittings and months of correspondence. The archives hold records of shirts made for emperors, writers, and presidents, but the names are rarely spoken aloud. Discretion is absolute. The only public sign of a Charvet shirt is a flash of color at the collar or the way the fabric catches the light. Both the shoemaker's last shelves and Charvet's fabric vault are more than storage. They are living records, quietly tracking the passage of time and taste, and ensuring that each new commission draws on the memory of those that came before. In these spaces, luxury is not a matter of display, but of continuity. The archives serve as blueprints for the future, private, precise, and always ready to be called upon, whether for a new commission or for the slow, careful work of repair. The value lies in what is preserved, the shape of a foot, the drape of a collar, the notes in a ledger. For those who belong to this world, the archive is the brand, and the promise that nothing is ever truly lost. In the world of independent watchmaking, scarcity is not a marketing tactic. It is a physical reality, measured in hours at the bench and the number of hands that ever touch a movement. In a quiet workshop in Le Sentier, Philippe Dufour spends his days hunched over a single watch, loop pressed to his eye, a file in one hand and a bridge in the other. Over a career spanning more than 3 decades, Dufour has produced fewer than 300 watches. Some years he completes only 5. His most famous model, Simplicity, was capped at around 200 pieces. Each one is documented by hand in a serial log, the numbers known to collectors but rarely spoken aloud. Roger W. Smith, working on the Isle of Man, produces about 10 watches a year. His team is small, and each piece is made almost entirely in-house, from the plates to the screws. The annual output is so limited that a new client can wait 3 to 5 years before their name even nears the top of the list. The process is not just assembly, but a sequence of finishing rituals. Anglage, where every edge is beveled and polished by hand. Black polishing, which turns steel surfaces into mirrors. Perlage, a swirling grain on the base plate, hidden from view. These finishing techniques are not decorative flourishes. They are the standard. A single movement can require more than 40 hours of finishing before assembly even begins. Kari Voutilainen in his Swiss atelier takes a similar approach. His annual production rarely exceeds 50 watches, even with a small team of artisans. F.P. Journey, though better known among collectors, maintains a strict in-house philosophy, stamping his calibers with the Latin phrase invenit et fecit, meaning he invented it and he made it. For these watchmakers, The value lies not in the logo, but in the provenance, a record of who made what, when, and for whom. Each watch is a chapter in a ledger, a proof of origin that matters as much as the mechanics themselves. Waiting lists are measured in years, not months. There are no public price lists, no influencer campaigns, and often no storefront at all. Access is managed quietly, through introductions at collector events or a handwritten letter passed from one patron to another. Some clients are chosen not for their spending power, but for their willingness to wear the watch rather than lock it away. The scarcity is enforced not only by time, but by the refusal to scale. Dufour's workshop could add more benches, but he chooses not to. Smith could take on more apprentices, but prefers to train each one himself, ensuring every screw, every bridge, every spring is finished to his own standard. The result is a kind of technical purity rarely found in modern luxury. Each watch is a record of labor, a tally of hours spent at the bench, and a testament to the limits of human production. The movement once finished is recorded in a serial log, an archive that will outlast the maker. In this world, rarity is not a slogan, but a number you can count on one hand. The ledger, the logbook, and the finish on a single screw are the real signatures of value. For those who wait years for a commission, the proof is not just in the watch itself, but in the record that shows exactly how and by whom it was made. In a quiet Munich atelier, a goldsmith lifts a fragment of iron and pairs it with a sapphire the size of a thumbnail. The contrast is deliberate, Hemmerl's signature. Since the 1990s, the family-run house has built a reputation on the unexpected, rare gems set in humble metals, each piece designed and finished by hand. There are no public price lists, no seasonal collections, and no advertising. A client may wait over a year for a single commission, the process unfolding in private meetings and sketches exchanged behind closed doors. Sometimes the stone itself is historic. A diamond once set in a 19th century brooch, now reimagined in a new form. Every detail is recorded in a ledger, but the names are reduced to initials or codes. Hemmerl's output is so limited that even seasoned collectors may never see the same design twice. In Paris, the name Jar is spoken quietly, if at all. Joel Arthur Rosenthal, the jeweler behind the initials, accepts clients by introduction only. His Place Vendôme salon has no sign and no regular hours. Appointments are rare, and prices are never discussed outside the room. Pieces are shown one at a time, often with the jeweler present, and sales may be refused without explanation. Jar's work is known for its technical bravura, pave-set stones so fine that the metal disappears entirely, leaving only color and light. For those who gain entry, the experience is intimate and silent, governed by trust rather than transaction. The absence of publicity is not a strategy, but a condition. There are no interviews, no social media, and almost no second chances. While jewelry houses like Hemmerl and JR guard their privacy with iron discipline, another form of invisible luxury is stitched into the seams of haute couture. In a sunlit workshop outside Paris, Maison Lesage's embroiderers bend over stretched organza, adding beads and sequins one by one. A single couture gown may require hundreds of hours of embroidery, each motif drawn from sample boards that date back decades. The atelier's archives are legendary, rows of boxes holding swatches, sketches, and patterns, some yellowed with age. For an invited client, the process begins with a private consultation, followed by weeks of sampling and approval. The final embroidery is often hidden from view, lining a jacket or tracing the inside of a sleeve. The work is signed only in the atelier's own records, never on the garment. Discretion is enforced by more than tradition. Clients sign non-disclosure agreements before viewing archives or commissioning special work. Prices are discussed in person and only after trust has been established. In some cases, even the designer's name is omitted from invoices, replaced by a code or a crest. For the embroiderers, the greatest compliment is anonymity, to create beauty that will never be recognized outside a small circle. Maison Lesage, like Hemmerle and Jar, operates on the understanding that true luxury is not about being seen, but about knowing. The value is in the hours, the silence, and the knowledge that what you own cannot be replicated or even found by anyone else. These are houses where access is earned, not bought. A new client arrives by referral, perhaps with a letter from a family office or a whispered introduction from a trusted friend. There are no showrooms, no influencer campaigns, and often no mention of price until the work is finished. The only proof of ownership is the object itself, and perhaps a line in a private ledger. In this world, luxury hides in plain sight, set in iron, stitched into silk, or sealed in a box that may never be opened in public. A saddle commission begins with a visit to the stables, not a showroom. The saddler arrives with a tape measure and a notebook, studying the horse's back, the rider's seat, and the way the two move together. Measurements are taken at rest and in motion, and the fitting cycle can stretch over several months, each adjustment tested on the animal itself. At Hermes La Sellerie, the adjustable tree is shaped by hand, then tweaked again after the first ride, and again after the second, until both horse and rider are satisfied. For some clients, the process is as much about ritual as utility. A royal stable may wait nearly a year for a saddle that will never be seen outside the ring. In Paris, travel trunks are still made to order for clients who refuse to buy off the shelf. At Goyard, a trunk painter sits at a bench, brush in hand, ready to add stripes or initials in a style unchanged for generations. But not every request is accepted. The house turns down online monogram orders, insisting on in-person appointments and careful vetting. There is no e-commerce, no public price list, and waiting lists for certain models. The value lies in the refusal, in a trunk that travels quietly, marked only for those who know how to look. Here, even the most practical objects become private invitations, their meaning hidden in paint, leather, and time. A letter arrives, written on thick, watermarked paper and signed in a careful hand. It does not advertise a brand or extend an invitation. Instead, it verifies the bearer's standing, a discreet introduction from a family office or a trusted advisor, vouching for the client's history and discretion. Entry into these circles depends on such paperwork. Before any commission, the house requires a non-disclosure agreement. Its language precise. No mention of names, no photographs, no discussion of process or provenance beyond the atelier's doors. The requirement is about protection and clear boundaries. The clause is standard, confidentiality is perpetual, covering all details of the commission and even the codes used in the records. The rationale is practical as much as cultural. In a world where a single leak can invite theft or speculation, secrecy protects both the client and the object. For pieces of historic value, a tiara remounted for a royal wedding or a necklace rebuilt from a dynasty's stones, every detail is entered by hand in a ledger. The page records only a date, a coded client entry, and the work performed. The ledger itself is kept in a locked vault, its pages shown only to those with the right to see them. For the few who gain access, the proof of ownership is not a press release or a certificate, but a line in a book, written in ink, and guarded for generations. Today, true luxury hides behind closed doors, protected by privacy codes and generational trust, not marketing. As wealth concentrates further, the world's rarest craftsmanship grows even more invisible, reserved for those already inside the circle. For most, these brands remain myths, but their existence quietly shapes what exclusivity means now, reminding us that sometimes the rarest treasures are valued most for staying out of view. Share your thoughts below.